This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. Today, parade controversy as President Trump puts the military on display for the 4th of July celebration in Washington for what he calls the show of a lifetime. But critics say he's making it into a campaign event. As America celebrates its Independence Day, today we'll take a look at the history of our freedoms back to colonial times and even ancient Israel. A new exhibit at the Museum of the Bible in Washington gives viewers a new view of the end times. And it wouldn't be the 4th of July without a hot dog eating contest. The defending champion is back. Can he top the amazing number of hot dogs he put away to win the crown last year? Those stories and more today on NewsWatch. President Trump is promising a great show for today's 4th of July celebration in Washington, but his critics say he's turning it into a campaign event. Heather Sells has our report.
It's called the Salute to America, and this year's 4th of July celebration in the nation's capital will go above and beyond the traditional event. The president is summoning tanks and warplanes, saying he wants to honor the armed forces. He got the idea 2 years ago while watching a 2-hour military parade in Paris on Bastille Day.
And we're going to have planes going overhead, the best fighter jets in the world, and other planes too.
I think it's exciting. I think it's good for patriotism of the country. I'm proud and thankful for those that have served our country.
The president is also changing the lineup by including a speech he will make. The White House says it will be patriotic, but his critics say he's turning the event into a campaign rally and focusing too much on the military.
It reminds me of the Soviet Union. It's unpatriotic because militarism is not what American patriotism is about.
The president's critics also say they're worried about cost, but the president said Wednesday, "We own the planes, we have the pilots. All we need is the fuel." For many Americans across the country, however, this 4th of July will mean travel and food, thanks to low gas prices, low unemployment, and robust consumer spending. AAA predicts a record 49 million Americans will travel this weekend, with 41 million of them driving. And the National Retail Federation estimates that we will spend $6.7 billion on food. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Looks good there. Well, as fireworks retailers across the U.S. prepare for tonight's display, many are worried trade tensions with China and potential tariffs could hit their products. The trade dispute between China and the U.S. had threatened penalties of 25% imposed on fireworks imported from China. The leading fireworks company, Phantom Fireworks, says no other country could match the expertise and the experience China has in firework development.
Maybe we could absorb a couple percent, but we're going to pass on at least 20% of a 25% tariff to our customers. And the customers are going to react, as you would expect, very negatively. They'll buy less, our business will go down. It would be disastrous.
The U.S. commercial fireworks market has almost doubled in size over the last decade, from $500 million in 1999 to $945 million last year. The Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. is opening a new exhibit that will plunge visitors from light to darkness in order to give them a whole new view of the end times. Paul Strand brings us this look at the Tapestry of Light exhibit.
Visions in the book of Revelation have been with us for almost 2,000 years, but now here they are reinterpreted in a 21st century way.
The Tapestry of Light exhibit at Washington's Museum of the Bible shows St. John's Apocalypse through massive tapestries stretching some 100 feet, but featuring new nanotechnologies that let the art go from light to phantasmagorical glow-in-the-dark images. Artist Irene Barbaras has been working on it for 2 decades.
Light became a trigger, really, for people understanding a text that generally would put them into some type of state of fear.
Amy Van Dyke is curating the cutting-edge exhibit.
Science, faith, art, all of these things that perhaps have been very separated in the past. We're now bringing those all together in this.
The intent is anything but bringing people down with a sense of gloom and doom.
When most of the world is thinking about the horrors of war and the potential devastation of the environment and every other thing, for Christians, for those who believe in what the actual text says, there is something else coming afterwards.
It's looking at the kind of hope that light can bring, that light is revelatory, that it illuminates the darkness.
For as Revelation clearly shows, in the end there'll be a bright new heaven and a new earth.
The end for within the texts of the Apocalypse is actually the beginning.
Van Dyke likes how this Australian artist has inserted pieces of her own life and times to remind us these wild events at the end are coming to a very real world we live in.
There's a jar of Vegemite that's in this, and it talks about the everyday things amidst the chaos of war, and that people will be eating and drinking but not knowing when the coming of Jesus will be.
The Tapestry of Light exhibit opens July 6th here at the Museum of the Bible and will go well into the year 2020. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Museum of the Bible.
Overseas, Nigerian Christians say they want their government and Washington to do more to stop the spilling of innocent Christian blood in their country. Boko Haram continues to slay thousands of Christians in Nigeria in hopes of establishing an Islamic State. At the same time, Fulani herdsmen steal Christian land by setting fire to their villages and slaughtering women, children, and men as they sleep. Is this a religious war that Muslims are waging against Christians or something more? Nigerian researcher Darlington Akaisu is the author of the book Misunderstanding Boko Haram. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, he says Christians are caught in the crossfire of an age-old struggle between ethnic groups.
Boko Haram, from your perspective or from an outsider's perspective, is pretty much what it has become today. So what people don't know about it is how it started. But again, I'm here to tell you that Boko Haram has an ethnic component, which is very strong. It is an ethnic war which has blossomed into what it is today. So that's the piece of the puzzle where people don't easily see.
I had one individual tell me, look, the average Fulani cannot afford an AK-47 to go and kill Christians and raid their villages and slaughter Christians. So where are they getting the AK-47s for? What's that all about?
Gary, you're reading my mind. My view on this is from my personal research. When the Kanuris are placed in top positions of power, and again, if you look at it, a Kanuri man and a Fulani man, when they see each other, there is tension because the Kanuri people have always lived a life believing that they were not overtaken by the Fulanis.
So would they be killing these people if they weren't Christian?
In fact, when they come to kill, they kill everyone, Christians inclusive.
Very tragic. We'll hear more from Darlington Akaisu on The Global Lane. It's on the CBN News Channel tonight at 9:30 Eastern. Coming up, how doctors in Africa are stepping up to try to help countries in crisis and the millions there who are in desperate need of medical care. And before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
you need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership. And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. Medical care in nations across Africa is limited, and millions of people there are suffering from conditions that require operations, but they don't have the means to pay for them. In this week's edition of World Beat, George Thomas tells us how doctors are working to make a difference.
Hello everyone, welcome to World Beat, where we show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it. Millions of Africans today are in desperate need of an operation but don't have access to the medical care or health facilities to make this a reality. By the way, those who undergo surgery face a great risk of dying even after the surgery. A study in the Lancet Medical Journal found that patients who undergo surgery in Africa are more than twice as likely to die following an operation than the global average. The main problem researchers found was a lack of medical staff and training to spot complications after the surgery. In sub-Saharan Africa, fewer than 1 in 10 people have access to basic surgical care. My next guest is focused on training African physicians in their home countries to care for the sick and poor. Susan Koshi is Executive Director of Pan-African Academy of Christian Surgeons, also known as PACS. In addition to training the next generation of African doctors, PACS also places a premium on sharing Christ's love. Ms. Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show. What's the vision of PACS?
Well, we are a strategic response to the need for surgeons in Africa. So what PACS is doing is we are training and we're discipling Christian physicians as surgeons to care for the poor and to bring the hope of Christ to those that are in absolute need. So we're a 5-year surgical training program, but what makes us very unique is not only are we training these residents as surgeons, but we're also putting them through a 5-year spiritual curriculum so that when they come out, when they graduate, that they're not only graduating as surgeons, but they have a true understanding of the Bible and how to evangelize and bring the hope and the love of Christ to their patients.
How is your organization changing Africa's medical landscape?
Well, what we're doing is we're trying to provide a sustainable solution to the need for surgeons. So we're not a temporary response, but we are trying to be a long-term response and provide a sustainable solution. We have already graduated 88 surgeons for Africa, and they are going on to serve in 21 different countries throughout the continent. And I'm very proud to say that 100% of our graduates have gone on to serve in the under-resourced areas of Africa and are taking care of those that are in true need of surgical care.
You know, there has been some criticism with the dire needs across the African continent, this idea of sending foreign missionaries, medical missionaries into Africa sort of for 1 week, 1 month stints. How would you respond to that?
Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to not only bring in expatriate surgeons who are serving as our faculty, but they are now training the new next generation of surgeons for Africa. And there is now a cooperation between both our African faculty, expatriate faculty that are coming. So the African faculty they have an understanding of the culture. And so there is a true relationship and a cooperation between the two at this time.
And for you guys, it's all about training national surgeons in Africa, right?
Yes, it is. So we have programs in 8 different countries, and we work in 9 mission hospitals. And currently, we have 95 residents in our training programs.
You mentioned this earlier in the interview segment, but faith and trust in Jesus Christ is an important component of the training as well. It's not just about the technicalities of the medical field, but it's also about transforming the lives of people's hearts as well, right?
Yes, it is. As I said, we do put them, our residents go through a 5-year spiritual curriculum. And we are bringing in our residents that we are training are African Christian physicians, and we train them as surgeons. But then they're going and providing care to people of all religions and all faiths, and they're trying to bring hope. So I always say that we're not only bringing healing to the body, but we're also trying to bring healing to the spirit. It is a approach.
I'm sorry, as somebody who has grown up, lived half his life on the African continent, I understand very well the challenges that people face in getting access to medical care, especially in the rural, remote parts of Africa. Do many of these graduates from PAX, do they have a desire to go places where there is not a single doctor, maybe for 200 miles, that the conditions are difficult, they don't have water, electricity, the basics of what you would get in a major African metropolitan city? Is that what you're also encouraging PAX graduates to do?
Yes, 100% of our graduates have gone on to serve in the rural areas, and many of them are serving in areas in which there may not be a surgeon. There may be the only surgeon for a population of 250,000 or more. And they are providing much needed care and also spiritual care to those people in those areas.
Okay, Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for all that you do for the African continent. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. Well, folks, that is it for today's edition of World Beat. Until next time, goodbye and God bless you.
Still ahead this 4th of July, we take a look at how ancient Israel paved the way for America's concept of being the land of the free.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
America certainly became the land of the free after it declared its independence in 1776. But its concept of a free people ruling themselves didn't start there. As Paul Strand in Connecticut and Chris Mitchell in Jerusalem explain, it goes back to one of the first colonies and even further back to ancient Israel.
In wilderness like this, some 100 Puritan settlers, led by the Reverend Thomas Hooker, made their way in 1636 to what became Connecticut's capital, Hartford. It was a land wild and untamed, and they asked Hooker how they should govern it. What he preached May 31st, 1638, as it says at the base of this statue, sowed the seeds of free constitutional government in America.
The main idea in Hooker's sermon was this: the foundation of authority is laid firstly in the free consent of the people. That's the idea that helped shape the Connecticut Constitution, which then many decades later helped shape the American Constitution.
It's why many call Hooker the father of American democracy. Behind the Hartford statue of these praying settlers, a plaque says, "Here they established the form of government upon which the present Constitution is modeled."
Which starts off how? We the people.
Historian William Federer authors the online historical lessons called American Minute. He said this revolutionary idea of democratic rule came after 6,000 years of almost nothing but kings and emperors.
And they believed in a top-down form of government, where God gives all the power and rights to the king, and he's God's lieutenant who dispenses it to the people.
Colonialists like Hooker turned that on its head.
And America's founders, when they got the chance, they wanted to run away from a king, and they flipped it and made the people the king.
Michael Medved, radio talk show host and author of The American Miracle, summed up their united belief this way.
All of us have the same ultimate sovereign, God Almighty, but that God Almighty does not appoint and designate crowned heads over us. The power comes from the people.
John Jay, the first Chief Justice, said the people are the sovereign of this country.
Medved added, though, the Founding Fathers, for all their faith in freedom, feared a powerful state like Anglican Virginia could so dominate the country as to force its brand of faith on all the other states. Solution?
You make a First Amendment which says Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion.
They didn't want a federal Walmart to come in town and put out of business their local mom-and-pop denomination.
They did seem bound, though, by a common faith foundation.
The idea of providence, the idea that they were doing God's work, that this American experiment was ultimately an American miracle.
But these foundations and principles didn't form here in the colonies. Their origin was a long, long time ago in a place far, far away. For that part of the story, we turn to Chris Mitchell in Israel.
Thanks, Paul. Many pilgrims and Puritans crushed under European kings wanted the government and liberty God gave to the ancient Israelites.
When Moses took the children of Israel out of Egypt, that was the first instance in world history of an entire nation with no king.
One thing after another was revolutionary in this Hebrew republic, such as the tribes electing their own leaders, and that all people were to be treated as equals.
Israel was the beginning of the concept of equality on planet Earth.
The Hebrew Republic was the first nation with no standing army.
You have a king, he has an army to enforce his will. In Israel, every man was in the militia and armed and ready at a moment's notice to defend his family and his community.
It was the first nation where everyone was taught to read, so everyone could know the law.
Israel had no police. Not only did everyone get taught the law, everyone was responsible to help enforce the law.
Michael Medved is quick to point out that America's founders didn't adopt Old Testament law wholesale, like, for instance, the ancient law that would put wayward teenagers to death.
A rebellious son is going to be stoned, and I don't mean stoned with marijuana, but he's going to lose his life.
Federer agrees, though he insists most colonial Christians shared this crucial belief with ancient Israelites: there's a God watching everyone, wanting them to be fair and holding them accountable in the future. That creates a conscience.
If everybody in the country believes this, you can maintain complete order with no police, maximum liberty.
This is what Thomas Hooker and other New England pastors and lawmakers were looking at as a model.
And then this became the model for the other constitutions of the states, eventually the U.S. Constitution, and that allowed America to blossom into this amazing experiment of the people getting to be king and each individual citizen accountable to God.
And that's how ancient Israel and colonial America are linked more than most people would ever know. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Fascinating information coming up. Let's get ready to rumble. Contestants are prepping for the ultimate contest that happens every 4th of July.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
Finally today, a 4th of July tradition continues. The annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest in Coney Island, New York. Contestants weighed in at the Empire State Building Wednesday. Joey Chestnut is defending his title. He's won 11 times. Last year, he downed 74 hot dogs and buns for the win. The defending women's champion, Miki Sudo, ate 37 dogs in 2018. The first place winners will each win $10,000. Well, that's it for today's first edition of Newswatch. You can find more on the issues you care about most at CBNNews.com and can watch CBN News programs anytime on our CBN News channel. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Or you can talk to us always on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day and a great 4th of July.